Right, hello. So, a Friday stream. Hopefully, you can hear and see me fine, and hopefully, you get a notification because sometimes they go out, sometimes they don't. Looks a bit weird not having the MD free there, but I've just got it down there at the moment. But yeah, so you know, regular stream. Just thought I'd do this one today because quite often, if you do one in the early afternoon, you get different people on, and sometimes that's quite good because you don't get the people on trying to cause arguments or whatever. But hopefully everybody's all right. I'm in much better mood today so far than I was yesterday. But I think that's just because so far today I've not seen anything really, really idiotic. Although, was Trump telling Americans to inject bleach or something they were saying on the radio? I have to look this up now because I don't know if it's true. Don't take disinfectant for coronavirus. What's this? A leading disinfectant producer has issued a strong warning not to use its products on the human body after Donald Trump suggested they could potentially be used to treat coronavirus. Reckitt Benicson, or whatever they're called, who owns Lysol and Dettol, said under no circumstances should its products be injected or ingested. President Trump faces a backlash over his comments at a briefing on Thursday. Disinfectants are hazardous substances that can be poisonous if ingested. Even external exposure can be dangerous to the skin, eyes, and respiratory systems. I'm going to have to watch this thing where he actually said this, but yeah, so apparently Trump in the thing actually did say about injecting bleach or drinking bleach, and no, I don't think this is fake news. I think he is literally going crazy at this point. So I'll have to make sure he definitely said it in the interview, about it being a little cut clip, but I know he has been just rambling on at these White House, White House press briefings, and I think he's probably going a bit crazier as time goes on. So, like I said, I'll have to verify if that's true, but it is on all the main news outlets. Because I know, like, if you've been listening to the White House press briefings for the last couple of weeks, most political commentators, even the ones who aren't anti-Trump, have been saying, these are getting more and more bizarre as time goes on. Because he just sort of rambles for like 2 hours, apparently. How everything's just going to be going back to normal and whatever. But yeah, I'm really going to have to watch now to see if there was one where Trump literally said drinking bleach can cure corona. Because it sounds like completely unbelievable, but knowing how the world is today, something that I guess kills infectious stuff, stuff like rubbing alcohol, bleach, all that, it breaks down viruses and bacteria. 2 hours if you're lucky. Does he go on even longer than that? I suppose it's something to listen to, isn't it, if you're bored? Yeah, hopefully everybody's all right. So yeah, I think because a lot of people don't bother watching them. For any of you interested in radiation detecting equipment, today's video was on this one, and I am really, really impressed with these, despite how old they are. The fact these still sort of seem to work perfectly is pretty amazing. So basically, they said the thing that's really interesting with these is they use a little ionization chamber, not a Geiger-Müller tube, despite the tiny size of them. So when you hold down read for long enough, the arrow will go to its minimum point, which is like 20 millirontgen per hour. And then, yeah, it still seems to work perfectly. I'm going to have to look into it because, like I said, I've not seen it, and I know the media will lie about Trump, but I also know Trump is seeming to get more and more deranged at the moment. Because I think his whole election thing, was about how he's fixed the economy, but now it's completely crashing. I mean, it's not his fault on that, because it's crashing everywhere in the world, but, I think that's why Trump has started going a bit crazy, in all honesty. Yeah, half crazy old Christian redneck veteran says the world economy is trash beyond coming back. I agree with you that. They're saying it could be even worse than the Great Depression. I try not to think about it too much, in all honesty, just because it gets so bleak, doesn't it, if you keep thinking about how bad things are going to get. Slimtar said, just watch the Trump clip. He says stuff about getting UV into the body and disinfectant as injection or as a cleanse. So he is literally saying inject disinfectant, is he? The government in the UK, Joshua, said it potentially could do, yes, at least to the end of the year. But you know. But I don't think the thing is I don't think any of us know. And it'd be nice to have honesty, but I don't think a lot of the politicians or scientists even know, do they? Which is what makes this so weird. Oh, don't forget to like the stream, everybody. But yeah, that's a shame on Spaghetti, isn't it? If people get sort of shitty at you for telling the truth, but Mom Spaghetti said he was called a delusional bastard for saying that it's not going to end soon to a bunch of entitled shits. But yeah, sadly, that's the attitude a lot of people seem to be having. I don't know how far, Isaac, the fallout could potentially travel from it, but it could get to the US, but it'll be a lot less active by the time it gets to the US. Because supposedly, countries really bordering Ukraine had quite strong doses from it. And, in the UK, when I had that rain, it was 3 times background, which isn't that much. But, you don't want to get it in you, as in drink that rainwater or whatever. Well, I think if it gets to the US, it'd be even more diluted. But I'm getting rid of the guy spamming the chat with pointless questions and pictures. He's potentially become Kim Jong-il, hasn't he? But I don't know, because I don't think there's any media news coming out about him, is there? I need to shave the stubble off. I won't shave that out, but I need to shave all this. I just noticed how neck-beardy it looks. I think you might be a bit wrong there, Chad. Again, a little bit probably won't hurt anybody, but there's plenty of examples of people dying horribly from radiation ingestion and exposure. That's all right, Mike. And it's nowhere near as high as that radon, because obviously when Chernobyl initially happened, it was because the reactor exploded and all of the freshly made radionuclides went everywhere, and absolutely tons of them, and there was like a constant loads of fire. What's happened is because the red forest, all the forests near Chernobyl that died off due to the radiation originally, that's why it's called the red forest, because it went like autumn and then they died. I was going to put my guide counter on that's on the wall there. What ended up happening was they've obviously absorbed quite a lot of things into the soil and the trees, with radionuclides. So what's ended up happening is now there's a forest fire, like 30 odd years on from Chernobyl actually happening, where those trees are burning, the smoke is carrying some of the radionuclides that were absorbed into the trees and the soil back into the atmosphere. The weather's normal here, half crazy old Christian redneck. It's quite nice and sunny here at the moment. Slim Tar, I'm afraid it doesn't. I know that was like the advertising thing for the quackery of it in like the 1920s, with all the radium chocolates and whatever else, but you really do not want radium in your body. Although, funnily enough, if you do eat Brazil nuts, they do contain trace amounts of radium due to it being in the soil where lots of Brazil nuts are grown. So if you've got a Geiger counter with an alpha probe on it, here's a really interesting experiment. Put the Brazil nuts in front of the alpha probe on the Geiger counter, and you might be surprised you will hear ticking higher than background, because of, Brazil nuts can be fairly active, a lot more than bananas. When people go, oh, potassium's radioactive, it is, but, it's not really a noticeable amount, where with Brazil nuts, you can actually hear a Geiger ticking on them. Don't forget to like the stream, everybody, because there's a lot more people on than likes. What I will do a video on that, thanks, Derno, because at the moment I've sort of said, one's at different price points. But what I do want to do, is do it like, if you've got a budget, what are some ones that are actually decent? It's going to, again, depend where you are in the world, because different prices for shipping to different places is quite, different. But, Yep, I know we were laughing at that earlier on. Absolutely amazing. I think the world is turning absolutely amazing of how bizarre it's getting. But yeah, with Geiger counters and that, you've got the option. When I say Geiger counters, I'm going to. Do you want me to include other radiation detectors? Because the issue is with Geiger counters is they are a very specific thing, and a lot of the time when people refer to radiation detectors, they always refer to Geiger counters. Where in general, I don't think people always mean they want a Geiger counter. So you'd have to say, what thing are you interested in? Just radiation detectors in general, or specifically Geiger counters? Don't They might be able to flaming fan, as in gas mask filters, filter water. Apparently Soviets used to find a way of using GP5 filters, I've heard, to filter homemade, like, vodka moonshine stuff. I don't know if that's true. Right, Hype? But Hype says, no, you can't do it because it will damage the filter over time. I know it certainly damaged the filter, but I don't know if you could do it just if you had a filter you wanted to throw away. S10s used to be like 50 to 100 pounds RC77. Now they're way more than that. So Hype, I don't know if you saw this, but you might have done on the previous stream. But yeah, these are really amazing. I love these. The little US Radiacs that they had for the aircrew survival kits that use a little tiny ion chamber with non-linear scales, logarithmic scale. Yes, if it's in working condition, Master Military, like actually working condition, no damage to it, you know, and it can be guaranteed to work by the seller, I would pay £100 for a DP75. No problem, Marty. What was your question on the dosimeter, by the way? I can't remember what one you asked now, because I always forget with all the questions I get. But yeah, I went for a long walk yesterday with my dad's deal into the woods near where I live, and I took a Geiger counter with me to take some readings. Some of it was high in the background. Let me show you some pictures. It's quite nice looking. 1 second. If I'll have to get the brightness on the phone correct so it's not so bright that the webcam can't see it. But for example, that was the sort of area I was walking in. If I get my phone to flip the pictures, and then I'll try and get the brightness to a good degree. Let's put it to medium brightness. That sort of thing, look. In the woods like that. So quite a nice place to walk. And I took a load of samples when I was there. Well, not samples as in taking samples, you know, to take home with me, but I did use the Geiger counter a few times when I was there. So there was quite a few bits where it was around background radiation, but there was a couple of bits where it wasn't. So let me find some of those pictures for you. Yeah, see, on that one, where I was just holding it in a field, 52 counts per minute. Which on the, I don't know if it wants to focus, it never normally likes to, there we go, which was, you know, 30 odd microsieverts, 0.3, you know, 0.30 odd microsieverts, but it was enough for that Geiger to actually say it's medium, not, you know. Yeah, it's always surprising though, stuff like this, when you think in the 1960s, if they made something like this, why didn't they carry on with it? Because I do like ion chambers. You know, I know Geiger counters are kind of more popular, but I think ion chambers do have some inherent quite good values to them, especially that they actually detect the real amount of ionization. They're not calibrated in the same way. Auto miss charger. Right, yeah, the one about the dosimeter charger for yeah, one of these. Yeah, I remember now. When people jog my memory, I normally remember, but it's just a bit like, you know, when you have all the people saying thanks for help on whatever. If you put batteries in it, Mo, I hope it works. Because, yeah, the only problem with DP75s, apparently, is the Polish ones are apparently a bit more fragile than Soviet DP5s. Because, yeah, with the, for example, the Polish ones, a lot of people have said, like, the monitor can break quite easily. You know, the bit where the needle moves on it. The filament, whatever you want to call it, the ampere. Thank you very much, Radon. Hope you're okay. And I like your name because, of course, radon being a decay product from radium and not a very nice gas to inhale, but, you know. Richard said, saw some cheap great swords on Blade UK carbon steel blade for under £100. It's not worth forging when I fucking buy them that price. Yeah, I'd say go for it, Richard, if you want to modify them as well. I bought my Rubin rifle today because it was work payday. And I thought, you know, that'll be my last big purchase. And I know I always say that because I think I am addicted to buying shit online. Right, Slimtar, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want one to begin with that monitors basically background levels and a bit above, because a doomsday meter like a CDV 715 will not tell you if you're above background. So where do you live, Slimtar, UK or US or somewhere else? Because I can probably recommend you models if I know where you are, which would probably turn up cheaply on your market. I mean, the Terra-P hype can supposedly go up to several sieverts, but the problem is with beta they never can, because with beta radiation the electrons just oversaturate the tube, so they can only do gamma up to that range. In theory it should be possible, but again it's going to have to be really good electronics. What's the name of that really nice one? Because it's one I've been interested in. Let me get the name of them up. They're the ones that actually have the alpha window on them, and they've got a really nice display. They look like some of the best pocket dosimeters possible, but I've not got one, but I will at some point. Let me go on Amazon and type in Geiger counter. Let me see if I can find the actual model of it. They're quite expensive, but they seem to be very, very good models. They're not the Radex ones, but they're not too far off. Yeah, they've got the alpha mica window actually on them, which is why I really like the look of them. Is it Radiscan? Are they called something like Radiscan? Let me type in Radiscan. It's not Radiscan. Let me go on eBay actually and just check eBay. No, it's not Radiscan. Alpha Geiger. Oh, it is a Radioscan. That's it. So let me link this. Now, this is obviously very expensive, and you know, I've not got one, so I can't confirm it works. But you can get these with English screens as well. But I know these are very popular because they do alpha, beta, and gamma, and I think they have an insanely big range, because I've seen these not max out. You know, when people have put them on really hot radium sort of dials and that. Does it say on here what its range is? You can use it at the PC as well. That's a plus. I'm seeing if it has the ranges on here. Ah, yeah, it does further down. Right. Indicated dose up to 1,000 millisievert, so that would be 1 sievert. So yeah, it doesn't actually go as high as the Terra-P, I would guess, but still going to 1 sievert's a pretty good range. But yeah, they do look very good, those counters anyway. But it wouldn't be good for you, Lena, but I'm all right, thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of cheaper ones than that. But yes, all right, Gretchen. But yeah, did the person say what country they were in, Slimtar or whoever it was? Because I'll try. Oh, you're in the UK, right, Slimtar? If you're in the UK and you want to check if you're at background radiation or higher, let me have a think what's currently available. Because as much as I love those MD3 meters, and you can still get them for a good price, they're not for background levels of radiation. They're like US CDV sort of 720s, 715s. But they're a lot more practical because you can remove the bottom and then actually, you know, take alpha samples of them, so you can actually see the needle move quite easily with those without anything, you know, scarily radioactive, just a bit of radium paint or americinium. But let me have a think what Geigers, because I mean you can get all the rate meters in the UK, but you need to do a probe for them, and I think a lot of people just want something that would fit in their pocket. And thank you very much, Marty. Right, Slimtar, let me have a think for you what you can get. Well, saying that, I've just thought of something that I always keep overlooking, but then I always recommend these, because these do background and higher. Let me demonstrate it again for the people who don't know them. But for the people asking about religious stuff, oh yeah, let me add you, Radon. Thank you for the donation. And same for Marty if he wants to have a Discord ID invite. But for the people saying I'm very loosely Christian, you know, I don't take it that seriously. I think Jesus was probably a pretty good dude, you know, in all honesty. But the idea of, you know, killing people or doing horrible things based on their religion is, you know, something I definitely would not endorse. So, you know, that's the thing. I don't take religion very seriously because, you know, the problem is with religion, when you take it too seriously, it becomes about hating people, really. You know, I know that's not true for everybody, but, you know, it becomes much more extremist. But most things, I'm pretty just chill on it, you know what I mean? That's why I don't get, you know, people hating Jews or Muslims or whatever based on just the fact they have a religion. I mean, if an individual does a horrible action based on their religion, then throw the book at them. But, you know, it's you know, when everybody goes on about Jewish conspiracies or whatever, or how all Muslims want to blow you up, it's like, in all honesty, I think you're full of shit. Why did I delete what Mom Spaghetti? I didn't delete anything. Right, anyway, Radon, I've added you, so once you get round to it, accept the thing and I can invite you. Ah, so you've got like a new Apple phone or something, Slim Tie, that you can't even use a headphone jack with. Oh, you can get the Bereg. I keep forgetting about the Bereg. Any check source will work with the Bereg because of how low radiation level it works, as long as it's not an alpha-only thing. But Radon, let me invite you, and then we'll talk about the Bereg for Slim Time. So the Bereg, this is a Ukrainian. It's either Ukrainian or Russian. I can't remember. It's a Geiger counter that's got an old analog type display, but it's kind of like a compact plastic unit. It uses a Soviet SBM20 tube, you know. Okay, so Massimo's recommending the Radex. That's an option, but I don't think Slim Tar wants to spend a lot. I think he just wants something to tell him if it's higher than background radiation. Right, so let me demonstrate the needle actually moving properly on that one there. We're going to use our friend Autonite, which is pretty. I think there's a little bit of Torbanite in here as well, but these are pretty little, you know, uranium-based crystals. So yeah, that will certainly tell you if you're above background. And it will slowly start dropping down again. But yeah, the Beregs, you know, are quite good. But again, the Bereg's nice because of how retro it is, you know, in that regard. Let me link you to it, Slim Tar. They're called Beregs, like Bereg IRI's 1 or something, but I just remember it as like that little plasticky Russian thing. You know, if it's Ukrainian, apologies for Ukrainians for calling you Russians, but you know what I mean. It's commie block sort of era stuff. I think mine had a hammer and sickle stamp, so I'm pretty sure it is from when it was still the Soviet Union. But there's lots of similar little models from the late Soviet Union, early Russia. This is the seller I bought mine from, and he included batteries with it as well. If you can somehow get a GQ GMC for that price, $30, that's excellent, Brian. Let me get one from the other room. My one, though, costs a lot more than that. The GMQ series is fine, they just don't max out for that much. So yeah, the GQ GMC 500 Plus, I do like this, but the issue is with this that not as compact as a Therapy, and it's you know, it's got some flaws compared to the Therapy. I mean, it does some things better, but right, if I turn the backlight off, you might be able to see it. I'll turn the clicker off as well, because that will click quite loud and get annoying if I demonstrate it. But speaker off, there we go. And then if we go to backlight, wherever that is, display options, backlight timer. This is very customizable, so I do like that with this. I want to actually put backlight completely off, actually. Off, there we go, so I don't want it to keep flash when it indicates something. So, yeah, that you can actually see that now. Good, it's not too bright for the camera. So there's lots of different view modes on these, which is quite nice. What I like, this is very good if you go for a walk. Because what this does is, as well as having several display modes, you can have it like tell you, since you last turned it on, for example, what the highest bit of exposure you had was, you know. So when I went on the walk yesterday, apparently at one point during the walk, I averaged 97 counts per minute. So there was one point, you know, where it was quite above background, but I wasn't looking at it at the time or listening to it tick. So, all right, cool, Slim Tar. But yeah, so for this one, for example, this uses 2 different tubes. I believe it's one of those Chinese tubes there with black tape around it. The reason for that is that it stops UV light getting in and giving false registers. So that's for your beta and gamma low range tube. And then you've got what I think is a Soviet SI3BG tube, or whatever they're called there, for going up to, because this goes up to several Rontgen, or, you know, like 45 millisievert or something. Yeah, it's a good counter if you get one cheap, Brian. I'd certainly say it's a good counter. It'll do everything you need. So yeah, let me demonstrate this. So if we get the Autonite back, which I just put away. I'll put it into the big sort of text mode. So that's on at the moment, CPM. Let's just get the thing so you can read this display. Why? It's a weird angle of the light now. Let me flick this light on. Hang on. That's better, sort of better. But yeah, you see how high the CPM's going now because the Autonite's near it. So yeah, these are good if you've got one cheap. Yeah, I'd certainly say these are good if you've got one cheap. But again, it really just depends what you want, Slimtar, when it comes to Geigers and radiation detectors and whatever, because there's so much out there. You know, the thing is, a lot of the old antique surplus ones are lovely, but I don't think for many people they're practical because, you know, the probability something's going to burn out in them, and then you need to replace that part, or, you know, the fact that they're going to be quite clunky and heavy. I do not have any plutonium because the police watch my videos sleep forever. Plutonium is not legal to own in the UK, and I 100% do not have that. And I'm not saying that as a joke. I literally do not have plutonium. You know, I've got quite a few other legal to own radionuclides and sort of radioactive check sources, but I don't have any plutonium. Massimo said for basic use, the GMC 300E is quite good as well and can be upgraded to SPM20. That's interesting. What does that max out at normally, the GMC 300E, Massimo? Because I know the problem with some of the cheaper GMC ones is they max out on a pretty low number. But, you know, if you only want it for background and finding out if something's more dangerous than background, that's fine. But I have seen a video where some German was showing it was reclocking over and over and over when he was using his Swiss Geiger counter. I thought it was an ion chamber. It was actually a Geiger counter because they finally found the real name of it and was looking at photos of the inside of them. And it does have 2 GM tubes in it. But yeah, when he was using it, the strontium 90 check source that came with this old Swiss Landis and Gia Geiger counter, it was just making it clock over. You know, it would get to the maximum dose it would do and then would reset it because of how strong the SR90 source was inside. So it's not too bad then, Rolandus, if it's 320 microsieverts. That's still higher than, for example, the one I've got on my wall there maxes out at 99.99 microsieverts. You know, and that's perfectly fine, really. I mean, for most people, but those Bereg ones, not the Bereg ones, whatever the name of that Chinese one is, the B6 or whatever it's called, for what it does, it's very bulky. You know, it's got a lovely display for hanging on your wall and seeing it from across the room, but Joe Mama says, a daily reminder that uranium is legal to own as a civilian without license. Probably not uranium-235, but standard uranium rocks, yes, because they're mostly U-238. They're not enriched. He says, also, it kind of gets your arse on the list if you do, but be sure to take necessary precautions with ownership. Yeah, well, the police already came to have asked me some questions, and I said they could look at anything if they wanted to, and they weren't fussed. But I did do a video the other day showing how I've got all the samples in the gun safe, in, like, boxes at the back of the gun safe, you know, so they're locked away pretty responsibly, in all honesty. You're not going to be able to expose yourself to my check sources if you know, just unwittingly did it or had an intention of stealing them. Like the little torbanite crystals and that, I just have on little display cases on the piano over there because they're so close to background where I'm sitting here that I would not worry about them at all, and they're nice to just be able to pick up on the stream while in the case and show them. Yes, there's a piano over there because I used to play the piano when I was younger, and sadly I've not done it in ages. But just to prove it that there is a piano there, because I ought to maybe in lockdown, you know, get some enjoyment out of playing the piano again. So I'll need to give it a good dust. But hang on, see, there's a piano there. I'll have to definitely dust that off and actually practice again with the piano. But yeah, the top of the piano is actually, it's electric piano, but the top of the piano is, you know, good for actually just putting display shelves on. I have to practice, Gretchen, because I've not played the piano properly in ages, so I'll be shit. But you know, I will actually probably definitely this week get around to when I'm sitting here bored, you know, not thinking, probably play the piano and just get some enjoyment out of it. I have to get some more headphones to plug into the headphone jack on it, because that means that, you know, I can play it and not annoy other people in the house, you know, whatever. You know, and if I'm playing shit up, the people won't hear me playing shit either. The really cool thing I do like of that electric piano, and I'll have to sort this out now, is what you can do, and I've got it done, there's a MIDI cable attached to it. If I get the MIDI cable plugged into the PC, you can load up MIDIs and have it play the MIDIs through the piano in several different instruments. And what's good is, because that's a nice Yamaha electric piano, you know, it's got the weighted keys and everything, it's not like a little keyboard, it's an actual proper electric piano from when I used to play piano. The reason it's good is you can... all of the recordings of the keys are actual samples. You know, they're not, it's not like a little synth, tinny sounding piano synth noise, like a Microsoft GS Wavetable MIDI synth type thing. So because each key's got like a recording of somebody with like an actual concert piano, you know, pressing them at different type strengths in a recording studio, it does sound very authentic. So it's quite nice to just load up MIDIs and have it play it. You know, it's kind of nicer than just listening to music with headphones sometimes. Yeah, Richard, sounds like you have some right cunts where you are. But, you know, especially if you can play it properly and then people whinge about it. But yeah. Oh, I did, but not on a video hyper. It might have been with the Radium I did that. But yeah, how it works, when it's in the case, it handles it fine. But I need to find it, yeah. But with how it works, because I've got that somewhere, I just don't know where I've put it, that Chinese Geiger. But yeah, how it works is... ZL, you keep spamming the question. I like the therapy, but again, there's different answers for different people. But yeah, Hype, how it works is when it's in the case and it's got those little two tiny beta windows and the tube isn't directly on it, it handles it quite fine because it can detect the betas there and it doesn't overload because the tube's spaced out a bit, you know, it's only got a little tiny window to blow the beta radiation through, essentially. But if you take the tube out of the housing and put it directly on the sample, it glows bright orange and overloads, you know, and gives you a really low reading. Because just, again, the problem seems to be with most tubes, GM tubes, is that beta radiation essentially just floods the tube. The electrons just short circuit it and give you a false reading. But yeah, in regard to you know, in regard to when it's in its case, it's very good. But I want to do a proper review of that because I do really like that counter. I mean, it's a shame I broke the speaker on it, but again, it was also annoying that the speaker was really loud and you couldn't turn it off, so it wasn't very good for just monitoring radiation on your shelf or whatever. That's amazing if you manage to get 13 masks for €10, Peter. But yeah, but yeah, like I said, I know though that really cool US Army Radiac, you know, the 100 or 110, whatever it's called, that was also the US CDV 718. That could measure beta radiation up to 10 Rontgen equivalent, when, you know, if you were using it like each decay was equal to a cesium-137 decay. The reason being that, you know, obviously with beta radiation, it just floods GM tubes too easily. Massimo said, what's the best way to clean a gas mask? Can just be washed or need particle protection over furnace? Right, with those masks, they'll both be fine to do this. Take the filters off, put some soapy water in the sink, like dish detergent, because neither of those masks are going to be made from really weak rubbers that can't handle this. Make it lukewarm, you know, don't have it really hot because that could damage the rubber, and then just soak them in that for a bit and then dry them off. If you want to clean them really thoroughly, use rubbing alcohol or whatever else. I use a half face. either the GVS Ellipse, the JSP Force 8, or sometimes just a little dust mask I've got. Right, Massimo, did you just hear me? I just answered it, unless I've just reread your comment by accident. Some people find Prepper Shop all right, Rumbo. It depends what you're buying from them, I think, in all honesty. Not really, Swaggerino. Particle filters aren't really meant to be cleaned. You're meant to just use them till they clog and then not use them anymore. Because, yeah, if you blow air through at too hard a force, it will just damage the filter medium and then stuff could potentially get through the filter. Let's have a look at the IPP8 then, Brian. What's that? Gas mask and respirator wiki. Oh, it's a decon kit. Oh, that looks interesting. I don't have one. I know there are a lot of decon kits you can't legally buy or get very easily because of the medicines that are in them. Post your Discord ID, Marty. What, 100 euros each? Because if you got 4 3M masks with the filters for 100 euros, as in 25 euros each, that isn't too bad at the moment. But yeah, or you literally on about little disposable masks, because yeah, that is a real rip-off price. Yeah, I was looking hype. It might be, but I know some of them. There was also pictures of little syrettes, so I wasn't sure if it also was atropine type stuff. That's annoying, Rumbo. I bet they didn't send you an MP5 either. I bet it was a French mask as well. The one everybody says is the MP5. It's the original French mask that isn't as good. But yeah, again, Rumbo, if it was advertised as a certain size and they sent you the wrong size, and that's not on, is it? Anyway, yeah. Let's keep the conversation a bit more positive. For anybody interested in them, currently on UK eBay, there is 1 or 2 Plessy PDRM 82s at decent prices, as in less than £50. You'll struggle to get readings of these. I won't say you can't, because as we know, you can get a reading on a Plessy. But if you were interested in them, I think there's 1 or 2 sellers that have them under £50 at the moment. People that donate can, Brian, yeah. But yeah, some sellers keep trying to sell these for £400 each or something stupid. But yeah, you can get these. Did Brian donate mods earlier in the stream? I don't know, because I can't remember. I can check now. There's a way I can check that YouTube lets you do. I can go on YouTube, I can go monetization, and I can click supers, and it actually and giving, and it will show me all the people who have donated. So far this stream, Raydon and Marty have donated, giving. So yeah, super chats and super stickers on this stream. So far, Raydon and Marty have donated on this stream, apparently. Marty, post your Discord ID if I've not seen it yet. Oh, there you go. He has, right. Marty086, and then I guess it's hash, isn't it? And then 3174. Right, let me add you. Did I invite Raydon? Yes, I did. Right, let me sort out Marty's one. Doesn't like it. Let me keep trying it, because sometimes Discord is just really funny with IDs like that. Are you sure the capitalizations are like that, Marty? Is it not all lowercase or something? Right, Marty, because it's not liking it, what you need to do for me is click the button in Discord so it copies your ID into the clipboard, then it will be 100% correct. Yeah, happy Ramadan for anybody who does that sort of thing, Harris. I know it's very different this year, isn't it? I was listening about that on the news, where obviously people can't exactly go to mosques or whatever, because quarantine type stuff. Yeah, that's a good thing, though. That's the thing I like with plastic encased filters, you know, like the 3M ones I like or whatever. It stops you accidentally touching and damaging the filter or crushing it. No, that's all right, Brian. Don't worry about it. But yeah, the Discord is for people that donate. And then when you join a server, if you've donated, make sure you read the rules, because recently we've had a lot of trouble with people, you know, being cunts to other people, breaking the rules, and then whinging that, oh, why did I get a warning or a block or whatever, when I was just just why can't I casually be racist to people, you know, that sort of stuff. Anyway, let's see if Marty can get his name. So what you need to do, Marty, open Discord. At the bottom left, it'll have your name. You can click it and it'll copy it to the clipboard. Yeah, Massimo, I have, not on video, and it was never very active. From what I understand, looking at a conversion factor, from what I found online, you need really, really, really strong beta sources to actually get pretty noticeable gamma radiation, or X-rays, essentially, from Brackenstrahlung, or however it's called, Bremenstrahlung. But yeah, the conversion factor is like a very, very low percentage, and I think because it scatters, it's not really all that directional when it does make X-rays. You know, it's Gelato41, thank you very much. He said, what's your thought on 5G towers? Are they harmful? No, wow, they're certainly, they don't give out ionizing radiation, if that's what you're asking, and they don't give out coronavirus either. How do we protect ourselves from radiation? Oh, let me add you on Discord. The easiest way to protect yourself from radiation is, if you know it's there, to not be around it. You know, as much as you could probably wear a lead apron and something like that, it's not very practical. And distance is your friend when it comes to radiation. But yeah, 5G obviously gives out electromagnetic style radiation, not not actual ionizing radiation, as in, you know, Chernobyl radiation or whatever you want to call it, like that. Well, we call it braking radiation technically in English, as in, you know, like braking on a car, braking radiation. But yeah, the German word still seems to get used a lot for it, because I guess it's the original word. I don't know, Stug, but obviously some of the shit they've put into the air is still floating around. I did see a very, very idiotic comment on speaking about 5G, though. That's not having to go at anyone in the stream. It wasn't in the stream. It was actually on a video documenting the map of the actual, you know, Chernobyl forest fires. And somebody said, I don't know why you'd be worried about this radiation. It's not as bad as 5G. It's like fucking burning radionuclides that can come down in the rain and get into your body are apparently less dangerous than 5G. Wow. You know, it was one of those. Oh, I'm glad you enjoy them, Gus Games. I'm all right. You know, it's a bit weird, you know, because you can have family members that are ill, friends of the family that are ill or suffering, you know, and you can't see them, which isn't great, you know. And you get a bit stir crazy, I think, after lockdown for a while. But I think I'm managing all right, in all honesty. I've never seen any for sale, Brian. If ever there's some lead vests on eBay that turn up for not too much, like the you know, those type, I will get one to do videos of, because it'd probably be quite interesting. Connor says, can I just say that the type of wave emitted by 5G's towers is safer than the previous G's, as it's lower power and it's actually inferior safe and visible light, as visible light is closer to gamma? You could say that, Connor, and you'd probably be right. I think you actually would be right. But the problem is, I think the people who are obsessed with 5G doing every single thing known to man or whatever are people who probably don't have a very good understanding of physics. But if you remember going back years and years and years ago, before 5G, even before mobile internet, you know, just with regular mobile phone stuff, remember all the scare stories about those causing cancer and, you know, birth defects and everything? It's something that's been around for ages. And like Horace says, it also depends on the power. You know, if you were right next to a mast, it's a bit different than, you know, having a mobile phone in your pocket, you know. Right, let me try again, Marty. I don't think your name can have spaces in. Oh, there we go. I've got it. Right. Once you see a friend's invite from me, you'll know it's from me. Accept it, and I'll invite you. There we go. You'll be invited to the server. When you get on the server, please read the rules. Was Ueno somebody who I sent an invite to earlier? Oh, it says this is beginning of being. Oh, you can have an invite. Right. There we go. Ah, sounds very good. Funk fewer music work. I'm probably butchering the name, but like I said, I'm not qualified in physics at all. I found it boring at school because our physics teacher didn't really get us engaged in it. But recently, I've just found radiation really fascinating, just because it fits into the old milsurp kind of collecting, and it's a fascinating thing. I think radiation, because the more you read into it, the more you realize you really don't know about it, and then you get more and more intrigued by all the different values. Chinese Geigers are actually all right, Aussie Prepper. Chinese People's Liberation Army Geigers are actually very good. When it comes to some of the Chinese commercial Geigers, they can really vary in quality, but they're not bad if they're cheap, Mob says the chat does not show on your live recorded videos. Have you done this on purpose? I'm not sure what you mean. Do you mean the chat doesn't show up? No, that's YouTube breaking. Then it's not something I'm choosing. I will try and read the comments out more though when I respond to them, just for people watching back, if that's the case. The Kajou one I bought from Hype, or Hype sent me for free. I can't remember which one it was. I definitely had to pay import duties on it. But this is very good for a cheap Geiger. You can overload them easily. The holes I drilled in it myself just to pick up beta radiation easily, more easily. But this does both microsieverts per hour, I assume calibrated on cesium-137. You can have the beeper on or off, or alarms on and off, and you can do counts per minute. And I can prove this works if you want to see it. I'll get the Autonite again. The screen takes a while to update when it updates, but it does update. If I can get it to focus and not just white blur out. It still says 30 CPM at the moment. It shows you your cumulative dose at the bottom as well. But obviously that's cesium calibrated. Right, when that eventually updates, that shouldn't be overloading at how hot this is, but let's just pull it back a little bit. Tell you what, that's an interesting noise. It's almost like music, isn't it? Yeah, anyway, I'll flick that off for now, but these are all right for what they are. Like I said, they're not brilliant, but if you just wanted something that would tell you if you're at background radiation or more than background radiation, they're quite good for that. Mo says it's hard to follow your comments when you cannot see the chat. I see the chat for other YouTubers. There's nothing I've done on the settings at my end. It's just YouTube going glitchy, I think. I know YouTube have literally said because of coronavirus, there's barely anybody doing video maintenance stuff, so I assume if something breaks, it's not getting fixed at the moment. Not hard at all. Wow, actually, saying that, TWVG, it depends what generation of ECBA vest it is. My old 95 Woodland one, I gave up trying to put the filler in it because it's a really stupid design. The later designs, it's very easy. It's basically, with the ECBA armor, the back bit is one kind of bit of Kevlar, and then the front is like two shoulder bits that kind of patch up together, like overlap like that, like how flak jackets used to do it. And yeah, putting the basically filler in the old Woodland jackets because of how tiny the little holes are to get the filler through, and then because you have to basically scrunch up and then it expands back into shape, is really, really difficult. With the later Desert DPM ones, the MTP ones, and I think they went back and revised the Woodland one at some point. You know, they've made much bigger holes for putting it in, which you can then just re-zip up, you know. I've had some weird comments regarding, yes, people offering me money or weird incentives to have masks. And as I said, I've tried to give a few masks away, although sadly a lot of people don't even want to accept them. That you know in person or whatever. But in all honesty, I don't want to price gouge or anything, you know. So what I've said to a few people that really want a few masks, I'm not that interested in anymore. You know, I said to them, when all this is over, shipping's back to normal, parcels aren't going to get stolen because masks are like gold. You know, I will sell masks at reasonable prices to people, but you know, yeah, I do this as a hobby. FHK, you know, if I didn't do this as a hobby, it'd be a bit weird having all this stuff, wouldn't it? But not by any companies like Myra Hype. What have they been approaching people and offering to buy their masks to resell them at ludicrous money? I've also not been approached by Myra to shill their products. I have been approached by a couple of smaller companies, but again, I won't name them because I don't even know if it was legitimately the companies approaching me or people trying to get them in, you know, like some bad rep for the companies, you know, saying could they pay me to give a good review to one of their like masks or filter products or whatever, and I just basically blocked them because fuck off, I'm not going to do that. If a company wants to send me something to free to do an honest review on, I don't mind that. But yeah, if a company, you know, literally says, can we bribe you to give a good fake review of a product? No, fuck off. You know? Yeah, regarding the phone Geigers, I know a lot of you said you can't get the things that show those, but hang on. Yeah, smart Geigers are very easy to use. Basically, you get the app on your phone, it plugs into your headphone jack, and then it's not really a Geiger counter, it uses a diode. It will drop down in a minute. When you first turn them on, they're pretty inaccurate. But yeah, how these work is they've got a little diode. The diode detects radiation messing with it. In theory, yeah, it would be nice if more companies made this kind of tech with. Also, you have to be careful because I think bumping them with your finger can give false readings on it. Yeah, notice that? I might have slightly damaged this one though, but yeah. What's Thunderfoot said now? Yeah, I wonder why hype, but it's not just Myra that do weird things like that. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't consider myself a subject matter expert. I just find this stuff interesting. But again, I'm more likely to say wow because I've played about with 100 odd masks over the time I've collected them, and then sometimes got rid of masks. I'll probably know if something has a good feature or not. Whereas some collectors are definitely going to be able to point out why there's a lot of flaws, and I just say, look, this isn't as good for the price you're charging. Look at all the other stuff on the surplus market. The problem is with companies like Myra is they also say the bullshit of if a mask is surplus, it's inherently bad. No, it's not. It's the whole the whole thing of why things get surplus. There's lots and lots of factors on that. Like with police body armor in the UK, they're not allowed to use it longer than 5 years under some ruling, for like safety of officers. So after 5 years, even if a vest has essentially been unissued, it is sold really cheaply as surplus. There's nothing wrong with it at all, Again, if you thought your life depended on it, would you rather have a brand new vest or a 5-year-old vest? A brand new vest, of course, but if the likelihood is that you're never going to need it, but you just want a stab-proof vest, then yeah, 5-year-old stab-proof vest in grade A condition is going to be fine. Oh yeah, Marty, what we'll do is as soon as the stream ends, I'll bump everybody who's newly invited onto the things where they can send messages. The reason for that is that basically how it works on Discord is we set up a thing so people couldn't raid the server. So if they've just joined, they can't, spam messages over everywhere. It's just like a protection thing. But yeah, once the stream ends, I'll put you onto the thing. I'll just assign you a role. I was looking for where I've put my little spectrogram speaker thing that plugs into the Geiger counters. Normally I put them in that little pot there. It's not over there, is it? No. But yeah, I've got... Oh, there it is. I've covered it in videos before, but this is quite good. It works in a similar way. But this is a bit better than those little phone Geigers. this is technically like a really low cost spectrometer. You can use it with spectrometer things, but it's nowhere near as good as the full-size scintillators. I don't know if this will work with the Smart Geiger app, because I can use it with the other app, but let's see if it will measure using this. Right, this one definitely doesn't work properly using the Smart Geiger app, because you can see it already thinks it's 8.4 microsieverts. And it's not that, but it will work using the other app. Hang on. Radmeter. I bought Radmeter, but it's for like £3, whatever the app costs. It's very useful. So it takes a while to calibrate for your individual thing, but once you've had it running for a couple of minutes, it will give pretty accurate readings. So let's go get a check source again and see if we can get this to give some readings. So as you can see, the readings are dropping down. A microgray is the same as a microsievert. Now let's put this here, and it should in a minute start clocking back up. Potentially. Yeah, there we go. Just had to leave it a bit longer to warm up on the phone jack, but yeah, that's a little gamma spectrometer that plugs into a phone. Again, nowhere near as good as the proper full-size units for obvious reasons, but they work, you know, in terms of they detect radiation, which is why you'd get one. And I wanted to play about them to test them compared to proper sized units. I suppose at least they're taking precautions. I think it is good that you get an education still in that, because the problem is a lot of people are just out of school with no real support, aren't they, at the moment? In theory, yes, Mobe, because if you get the spectrometer apps, it's very fiddly. As I said, it's nowhere near as good as a proper scintillator spectrometer and all that, Mobe. But yeah, if you put it for hours, sat next to a thing, it will show you, you know, like the little line graph thing where it can ID isotopes, essentially. As I said, it's nowhere near as good as the proper things, but for like a little $30, you know, thing that plugs into your phone, it can do stuff, you know, which is nice. And again, Germany's actually done a pretty good job though, hasn't it? Funk fewer compared to a lot of other countries dealing with all this, you know, doing a fairly strict lockdown when it counted and then easing it, you know, when they think they can ease it. Whereas in Britain, you know, we're following the science, which doesn't mean much. You can, Mobe, but I've not had much luck setting it up, mostly because the front audio jacks in my PC are a bit weird. I bought this for it, which I hope was the right thing, because apparently for some PC sound cards you need one of these for it to work properly with it. But yeah, only at some point when I've got time to spare, and let's be honest, we've all got a lot of time to spare at the moment, haven't we? I will set it up properly with my PC, you know, and try and get it all calibrated. But you know, it would be an interesting thing to play about with. Germany did a lot of testing very early on, Swaggerino, which helps because again, if you test like you know you're meant to do, if there are people that aren't very ill with it, you get a lot of recovered people, don't you? Because if people had it, felt like they had a cold and then they're fine or are asymptomatic, you get a lot of recoveries. Or if you're not testing enough, you're only really knowing about the people dying from it. Didn't you ask that yesterday, Crazy Egg? The answer is I don't know, because it's going to be when I dig out all my FP5 filters, which I'm not really going to rush out to do because a lot of them are actually in bags for masks, you know, so they're set up ready to go. But yeah, I'm going to have to dig up all my FP5 and FP211 filters and then use the calipers on them. But yeah, so the answer is still the same, Crazy Egg, as the other day. I'd appreciate if you didn't keep spamming the same question. It will be a video I get round to at some point. But you know, I would ask that people do believe me when I say some FP5 filters are GOST and some are NATO. I don't know exactly when the date changed over. There's not some weird conspiracy, you know, that Poland always made FP5 in NATO threads. The old FP5s definitely were GOST threaded because they went into GOST masks. But again, it's a case of digging them all out to use the calipers, which aren't that great in all honesty. But there you go. I should have spent more money on better calipers. But Discord's for people who donate, Christopher. When I go, when I go grocery shopping, I either use my GVS Ellipse, the JSP Force 8, or the what's the name of it? Alpha Mesh. It's like a little dust mask, but a very well made one. I might do at some point Chino Inferno. But again, it depends, because sometimes I'm just really not in the mood to, play games with people. I can be a bit miserable like that. I just want to play something single player, You'd have to ask Teespring, Brian, because Teespring sorts out all the merchandising. Basically, all you do with Teespring is you do the designs, you set up with your PayPal or whatever, and then if people buy it, you get a little bit of money from it. They handle all the printing of merch and shipping it. So if you look on Teespring's site, they'll tell you where they don't ship to. But they do ship to all the major continents, so I'd be surprised if they didn't do Indonesia. I just answered that. Yeah, Swaggerina, that's exactly how it works. It's with this sort of stuff, the more testing you do, the lower the actual fatality rate will be. But the problem is, in a lot of countries, they're just not, they don't have the capacity to test. I wish I could, Stug, because here's the thing, if I had access to all the machinery and all that, where I could just randomly shit out a design, see if it works by, somehow 3D printing or whatever, that'd be great. But sadly, I can't do it that easily. What's that, Orhan? You read the instruction of C for reusable filters, and that's really interesting. Claim the product is not going to lose its effect for impressive. Actually, is this a real thing? I don't know how science-wise you could have a filter that never expires. Well, I mean, the thing is, Truth Love and Honor, a lot of the people that work for these companies have actually specialized in it for a long time, so I doubt I'd be more smart than them. They would know all about rubber mixes and whatever. But, I mean, in terms of, saying this mask, should have had a better design, I can do that. I can be critical of masks, because I can basically say, here's a load of masks from the same time period. These one did something a lot better. And what I can certainly point out is when there were mask designs that were more effective that were older, and then people decided to ignore those designs to try something new that was awful, I'd say a half face mask, Crazy Egg. I mean, full face masks, yes, of course, offer more protection, but I like half face masks because they're less intimidating for other people. But, Yeah, it's a shame, Gretchen, isn't it, that, death of loved ones is the only way some people are going to pay attention, but I think that's just the reality of a lot of stuff like this. A lot of people are in denial. The analogy, for those of you that missed it the other day, and I didn't make this up, it was on LBC, and I don't know if they made it up, Ian Dale made it up, or if you just heard it somewhere else, as they said, thinking of lockdowns and social distancing, imagine you're in a plane that's crashing and you jump out with a parachute. Your parachute is the social distancing and lockdown measures, because it slows you down as you hit the ground, otherwise you'd hit the ground and die. You can probably adjust the parachute as you're going down to accelerate your fall and then decelerate again, but you can't take the parachute off, because if you take the parachute off before you get to the ground, you fall to your death. So that's kind of the social distancing measures for people who don't understand them. You can tweak them, to speed your descent or whatever and slow down your descent, but you can't just simply throw them all away once you start, because then, second wave, you hit the ground. I think it just makes a lot of sense to people that don't understand why you can't just say, let's get rid of all the relax all the rules. We've had a bit of lockdown. Surely everything will be fine now. I've not tried any proper surplus goggles, Adil. I found my ski goggles don't really fog up. Part of the problem might be that the air is escaping from there where your nose is when you exhale, and then going upwards onto the goggles. Yeah, exactly. Like what Funk Viewer there is saying is that basically, yeah, if you don't do it properly when you relax your restrictions, you have a second wave, and often second waves can be worse than the first wave. Yeah, agreed, Iman. The problem is there's no easy answer to this, is there? you're in a bad situation, basically. I don't think there's any way of Corona that a country could go into it and come out better than when they went in. You know, it's going to be bad. It's just trying to minimize the worst possible effects. We've had a bit of rain. Mo said some of the rain was radioactive. I need to go water a plum tree in the garden later today at some point, because it's been a couple of sunny days in a row, so it needs some water. But yeah, the Spanish flu did have 3 waves stuck, and the second wave was the worst wave by a mile. The third wave was worse than the first wave as well. But yeah, it was like, you know, a bad first wave, then vroom, you know, and then something like that, where yeah, but don't forget, Zadil, China is lying through their arse, the Communist Party in China, about what's actually going on there. I would not trust them, you know. All right, Waylon, I'll be on about 5 or 10 more minutes. It's been quite a good, cheerful stream today, you know, because the problem with some of these streams is sometimes they can be full of people, you know, spouting crap and doing quite a good job of winding me up, especially if I'm not in the best mood when I'm doing the stream. But today's been a lot of good questions for the most part. Oh, did he have the mask on like that then, rather than having it like that? Rose Staten is spamming Chinese characters. I don't know, so I have no idea what he's saying. Maybe he says "fuck you, don't insult glorious Chinese Communist Party." I don't know what he's saying. I'll block the guy going on about illegal books like terrorist-related material. Because no, I don't have anything illegal like that, but I don't appreciate people insinuating that I do. So fuck off. There you go. See, that's the way. That's the way I'll try and keep my attitude, you know, on these streams, is basically tell people to fuck off who are being dicks, but for everybody else, try and be nice. If you isolated Iron Man while magnet fishing, could you do it? Because if you're doing it for your daily exercise and you're not coming into contact with other people, it should be fine. Yeah, I'd agree with you, and there are always more decent people watching the streams who just want to have a chat than spammers or idiots spouting shit. But yeah, I think Briggs, again, I think at this time of day, maybe lots of little kids in America haven't woken up yet. I don't actually know what it is, but I know certain time zones seem to attract more crazies. The thing I like about the streams at this time of day, there's generally less viewers on, but it means you can keep up with the questions a bit more and have more in-depth answers for people. Well, the problem is, the way I look at it, Funk, is that often there's people asking good questions that deserve a good answer. And then when you get people spamming or trying to derail streams, they're stopping people who have legit questions being answered. So, you know, I don't have any patience for people that just come on to insult other people or spam shit. Like, we had a guy the other day, right? He came on, and firstly, I didn't know if he was being serious or not. He said, if I drank radioactive, you know, water, would it be bad for me? And I was saying to him, look, I really hope you've not done that, because yes, if there's certain isotopes in that water, you know, strontium-90 or something, radium-226, that's going to be very bad for you. And then, of course, his things went to, would my shit be radioactive? If I smeared my shit on myself, would that be bad for me? You know, so I blocked him, and then, of course, he came back with another account asking the same question. So it's like, yeah, somebody might have then been asking very serious questions that deserve an answer of radiation. But no, you're just spamming stupid questions. So, you know, well done. Yeah, radioactive poo man. I'm sure both radiation and scat fetishes are combined by some people, but it's not something I'd like to think about. Oliver said, here's a good question. What's your thought on Doctor Who? Who's your favourite? I like old Doctor Who. You know, when I say old Doctor Who, I mean really old Doctor Who, as in, you know, Patrick Troughton, what's his name? Somebody Pertwee. My mind's really going blank, Doctor Who now, but is it John Pertwee? I can't remember. And then the guy who played Wurzel Gummidge, and then Tom Baker ones are good. But I like the old Doctor Who's just because it's a bit like old Star Trek. You know, they didn't have much of a budget, but I think they used that low budget quite well. It does, Iron Man. Wow, interestingly, X-rays are kind of like magnetic fields, because X-rays come from electrons slamming into tubes if they're not coming from a source, you know, as in high voltage currents. But I've never tried it myself, but apparently if you get a really strong magnet and you have a beta radiation source, you can mess with the stream of the beta radiation coming from the source of a strong magnet. So yeah, there's lots of fascinating stuff like that. But again, radiation is such a big subject. I've not even got into some of that. I have been to Norway Radon. I have been to I went to Finland and then to Norway on 1 year for like, a week and a bit each. Have I been to Bergen though? Let me have a look. I can't remember all the places I visited in Norway. Have I been to Bergen? Is Bergen north or south of Oslo? Because that would be the easy way of answering it. Because the problem was with I don't know if I'd have been to Bergen, because what we did when we went to Norway and Finland, we went to Finland, we went north, and then we went along the coast of Norway. And then when we got closer to Oslo, we obviously went inland to Oslo, because that's where the flight back to the UK was. But there was loads of really nice cities. I'm pretty sure we went to Trondheim. My favourite one of the Norwegian places, though, was Nordskapp, whatever it's called. The place which is technically, got the most northern point in Europe, or whatever it is. Is it Nordskapp? Although I know when we were there, they were saying, yeah, it is Nordkapp. I know the town near Nordkapp's got a different name, but yeah, Nordkapp. Although they were saying when we were at the visitor centre, technically, if you go along the coast, there is a bit of rock that sticks further north out. But that was lovely. But sadly, we didn't see the midnight sun there because it was foggy. But they did say, that's a pretty common thing as well. As much as a touristy brochure will make you think you'll see the midnight sun, you won't. Shane says, "Can I show you one of my swords?" Yeah, I'll show you a sword. I'll show you the rapier because I've not shown that in a while, and it's right there at the moment. This isn't a particularly high quality sword, by the way, but the rapier is quite nice looking. But yeah, pretty long, isn't it? But yeah, rapiers, obviously, you can do the cool thing of like that with them. But it's like a military style rapier, not like a fencing rapier. But yeah, it's an all right one. Was it John Barnett? It's the one people are, they're really shit swords. The thing is, they're certainly not anywhere near as good as the higher quality swords, but they're not awful. You're not going to break them from stabbing some bottles or whatever in the garden with them. But I do hate the scabbard with this though, because the scabbard's got some cheap leather on the inside of it. And that cheap leather means that every time you get the sword in and out, it kind of dirties the blade. Right, I'm just trying to stick that down there. There we go, so it doesn't bend. Yeah, one of the things I really like with old rapiers is the kind of ornate, kind of gothic handguards hilts to them. But yeah, the tang goes all the way through Iron Man. The John Barnett swords still have proper tangs. When people have criticism of the John Barnett swords, the proper criticism of them, right? Not the, where people just talk shit on the internet, seems to be the John Barnett swords are quite heavy for what they are. So they're less maneuverable. They're not weak or anything. I think the John Barnett swords kind of fall into that category where they're like a wall hanger and they look nice, and you could use them, but they're not really designed for extended use. There's much better makers of swords out there than John Barnett. Like, I'd certainly agree with that. But when the people say they're completely fucking useless, they'll fall apart, that's bullshit, because they do have proper tangs and everything. And the steel is made fairly well on them. It's just, compared to some of the high-end Windler stuff, high-end Handway stuff, Albion swords or whatever else, they're nowhere near as good as that for obvious reasons. But if you wanted something that would look nice on the wall or on display, you could get it out and have a play about with a sword in the garden or whatever. They're fine for that, And people who seem to say, oh, it's going to fall apart the second you hold it, are just lying, basically. I think a lot of the time, I have got a kukri, but not like an old Nepalese one stuck. Although on my channel, there is a video of using a Nepalese kukri that Bart bought, which was lovely. That's made by one of those companies that supplies them to lots of international places that buy kukris. Yeah, Nepalese kukris are lovely, but I've got like a modern cheap kukri somewhere, but it's probably under the bed a bit buried. So But that's all right. The cheapish modern one I've got, you know, it's just stainless steel or whatever it is. But yeah, the Nepalese kukris are lovely. Yeah, it's just stupid, isn't it, Iron Man? That, again, innocent people get punished because of retards doing retarded things. A bandit, I would say probably yes, because the particle filter at the top is a lot more thorough. It's like a GP7 filter, basically, the MS4, where at the top of the filter, rather than having cotton wool bunged in the top, it's actually got like a proper particle sheet. So yeah, I'd say as much as the contents of the filter might be a bit questionable, I think it's very unlikely you could ever inhale those contents because of how they built the filter. Oh, is it Anzac Day tomorrow? Well, happy Anzac Day, Aussie Prepper. But I'll go off now anyway, because I've been on an hour and 15 minutes. But this has been a good, enjoyable stream. Thank you, everybody. You know, this has been one where people have actually been sensible and everything, you know, and, you know, nobody's been really insulting. For the most part, nobody's been insulting each other on the stream or whatever, you know. Oh no, I've got a load of deadly screwdrivers in my drawer, Briggs, because I use them when I'm opening up, like, containers and closing containers again. But yeah, see you all. If Weapon Collector's on Twitch tonight or on YouTube tonight, I think he's on YouTube tonight, didn't you say? Because it's Friday. You know, I am really at the moment forgetting what day of the week it is, just because I can't do charity volunteering because they've told us as volunteers not to come in due to quarantine rules. Can't go to work because we're furloughed and work's not allowed to open. So every day at the moment is the same because, you know, you're not meant to be going out and visiting people. I'm following all the lockdown rules. So, you know, every day to me might as well be any other day. But yeah, I'll see you all later on Weapon Collector's stream if he's on YouTube or whatever, hopefully. But when's my next stream, Brian? I stream pretty much every day at the moment to try and keep me sane. So it'll be tomorrow, but I'm not sure what time yet. I try and do the streams, you know, and I will go off in a minute, but I try and do the streams generally at different times of day. You know, not every day, like it will be a different time than the next day. But in general, I try and do them at different times of day now and then so people in different time zones can actually catch them, or people who might have been busy at one point in the day, every day, you know, catch them. But yeah, tomorrow, it will depend what I'm doing tomorrow around the house, you know, like DIY type jobs and that. But if I'm around in the afternoon, I would probably do one again at this time of day, just because it seems you have less idiots on at this time of day, in all honesty. So, yeah, see you all. Hope everybody enjoyed the stream. And, yeah, stay safe and everything. And hope all your relatives and that stay safe. And, you know, stay happy and sane during this weird time, really.